You're watching your local election headquarters. An ABC4 News Town Hall Special, America in Crisis, a positive path forward.
Welcome back. For weeks, protesters have marched streets all across the country following the death of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police. They're calling for justice in the form of police reform and racial equality. We wrap up our special report tonight with Senator Mitt Romney on that very topic. Senator Romney, it was a pretty striking scene to see you, a Republican senator from Utah, marching in the streets of Washington, D.C. What went into that decision?
Well, I have a very deep concern about making sure that we have equal opportunity for all of our citizens. That's the American way. That's the constitutional requirement. I also have a profound family tradition that relates to standing up for people of all races and backgrounds. And so when people are saying they're going to demonstrate in favor of saving lives and reducing prejudice, well, that's something I can support.
You also did share some photos of your father marching with protesters. He, of course, was a governor of Michigan. Have things changed at all from the same fight he was fighting all the way back then?
Oh, I'm sure the nation has changed in many ways since the 1960s. Some things have gotten better, some things haven't, and some things need to be addressed today that probably weren't being considered then. Right now, I think there's a recognition that in some cases, and it's obviously the small minority of cases, we need to look at policing to make sure that policing is not done in a way that's discriminatory or excessively brutal. And that's something which Congress is looking at, I'm looking at, and I think we'll see some changes in that regard.
Yeah, I want to get into your bill in a sec, but a quick question for you. I do believe there is systemic racism within law enforcement entities across the country.
Well, that term means different things to different people, but is there bias on the part of some individuals? I'm sure that's the case. It would be astonishing with hundreds of thousands of police officers if that were not the case. And I think we're going to look at ways we can try and remove any racism or any use of excessive force that applies to our people.
Yeah, let's get more into that. You're teaming up with South Carolina Senator Tim Scott on that bill. What are you guys hoping to accomplish specifically?
Well, there are a number of things that we'd like to see, and one is we're not going to be mandating, if you will, or creating new federal laws as much as providing grant money or a conditioning grant money that comes to police departments or states based upon having good training, for instance, training that helps police officers understand how to de-escalate a potential conflict, to determine exactly when you should use deadly force and when you should not. Training as well for supervisors to make sure that we have the kind of oversight of police officers that we need. I'm very much in favor also of making sure we have provisions that collect information about when deadly force has been used against minorities, but against others as well, and that we collect that at the federal level to see if there are patterns that are developing there. I also think states should maintain a database of those small number of officers that may have been removed from a police force for having used excessive force, and that information should be available not to the general public, but should be available to other police departments at the time they're doing some hiring. But let me underscore something. That is, the great majority of our law enforcement personnel in Utah, and I believe around the country, are doing an heroic job, are taking a very difficult job and performing it exceptionally well. But there are a few people who need to be called out.
Senator, we have about 1 minute left. Why your GOP plan for police reform as opposed to the Democratic plan that has also been unveiled?
Well, my own view is that our Democrat friends jumped right out without actually talking to law enforcement personnel, without understanding in great depth the kind of challenges the men in blue and women in blue face day to day. And they jumped to make a statement as opposed to make a law. In order to make a law in Washington, you have to get Republicans and Democrats to see if we can come to the same piece of legislation. The Democrats came out with theirs without any collaboration or communication at all with any Republicans, either in the House or in the Senate.
We're doing a job to get them involved. Thanks for being with us tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.